Hi, I'm Lori Brown. Of all the podcasts in all the towns and all the world, you have tuned in right here to Pondercast. Thanks for finding us. And thank you to our supporters on Patreon. You are our only means of support for the work that Joshua, Ty, and myself do. We appreciate you to the ends of the earth. If you find that our work supports you and you would like to support us, please go to patreon.com/pondercast and you can make a small monthly donation or a one-time annual contribution. Okay, let's Pondercast. Let's talk about other people. Oh, goody, a favorite subject. Let's talk about our own people. Let's talk about our neighbors. Let's talk about strangers and how we feel about them all now that we are locked away. Some people seem to be always there, our closest people. They are there so much, it's unnatural. We are social animals. We need to belong to a group. We need a certain number of social relationships. We are not meant to have one person be our everything. Our spouse, our best friend, our co-household manager, our hairdresser, and our pelvic affiliate. If you are going through this with a partner, by now it's probably become apparent how much we need other people to take up some of these roles. Especially the hairdresser. Or the pelvic affiliate one. But also the best friend. The whole "it takes a village to raise a child" could never feel more true than it does right now to those of us who have kids at home. So all kinds of things are coming clear now, and one of them, for me, is how important strangers are in my life. I think it's a family trait. The Browns, we love being around people. It doesn't matter if they're strangers, we want to talk to everybody. Rich, poor, mad, happy, young, old, or sick. We love to make eye contact and start a conversation. That gift, which is how I think of it, really unsettled my ex-husband at first. He'd find me in a parking lot talking to a herd of bikers or striking up a long conversation with the guy at the car wash, and I'd see this look on his face as he approached, a kind of, "What the hell is she doing?" look. I knew what I was doing. I was exercising my faith in the human race. It's kind of like a drug, connecting with strangers. I pull strength from the people I meet in my path. At least in the olden times I did. It's those tiny moments of intimacy with people that I don't know that I miss the most. As I used to move through the city in a day, I would collect these moments like crumbs. They fed me, reminded me I was part of something much bigger, and they made me feel at ease in my city. I miss strangers. Okay, let's talk about neighbors. I've been watching my neighbors. You too? Through the window, peering around corners. I wonder about them. Are they okay? How is that single mother doing? Is that elderly man on the corner okay? I'm pretty sure he's there on his own. Does he have family? We create stories for our neighbors, particularly now that so many of us are home all the time and watching. Have you had that experience of standing at your window, looking out into the windows of the apartments across the street, and suddenly someone is in their window doing the same thing, looking back at you? It's alarming, kind of embarrassing. You kind of slide nonchalantly away from the window. But now let's turn to the less than kind thoughts about neighbors, because many of us have less than kind neighbors, or at least that's how we think of them. Because I have a very difficult neighbor. He likes to fight everyone, and I've come to think of him as dangerous and threatening. He treats his family the same way. His wife and daughter finally left a year ago. Over the years, I've made an uneasy peace with him, but it's taken a lot of work and patience, and I'm wary of him, and I watch him. Is it just curiosity, wanting to figure this guy out, or is it something more unflattering in me, some unkindness? My neighbor's wife is back. Her car is in the driveway. Gone for months, I thought she had finally broken free. After she left, I watched him put up blackout curtains and stomp around his yard, morose, dangerous, and alone. I assigned emotions to the way he hit the gas as he backed down the drive, heading to his AA meetings, I bet. I talked about him all fall, wondering if he could cook in there, if he had enough wood for the winter. Not out of concern, but to assure myself that he was suffering enough. When the big storm came and blew his fence apart, I watched from the corner of the window as he pulled in and saw the boards strewn all over the lawn. He didn't give them a second look. He just walked into the house. Maybe he knew I was watching. They sit there still, weeks later, still untouched. The place looks like a disaster zone. And now the wife is back, and I can't imagine a good reason why. They skulk from car to house under the cover of winter, while I dream up new troubles for them and push them through the hole in the fence. Now to the people we know. I remember flying home to tell my father that my marriage was over. That was almost 15 years ago. And I only got the first sentence out when Dad stopped me and said, "Wait, I've got to take a pill." He would get emotional and anxious about things like this, so he took his half an Ativan and sat back down. And then we had that long conversation. And he was everything I needed him to be that day. He was supportive and comforting, and he was sad for me, with me, and sad for my husband. And he surprised me by getting up and going straight to the phone and phoning my husband and telling him how sorry he was. I watched in awe, my heart swelling to think that I had a father who he had no fear about making a difficult call like that one. He didn't even have to think about what he was going to say. He didn't think about it for 2 days and worry about it like I would have. He just did it. I like to think that that's part of the family DNA, but I struggle with those kind of phone calls. Those bigger kindnesses are hard. How many times have you seen an opportunity to do something more for someone where the idea springs up in your head, or maybe it's in your heart, and then you shut that thought down? Your brain tells you it's too much, or they may not appreciate that, or it's overstepping. Or you think, I'm not sure I want to offer that much or open myself up that much. What if they might expect even more from me? I may miss strangers, but with the people I know, my urge to help can get self-sabotaged. But now, sitting in lockdown, I am thinking and regretting all the opportunities for kindness that I backed my way out of. What am I so afraid of? I know that generosity and kindness make me feel like $1,000,000. So why does this inner voice stop me? Is it just plain selfishness? Or fear? About what? Am I the only one who finds themselves pulling back from an act of kindness? Not all the time, but some of the time. What is it that stops you? I imagine what it would feel like to turn that tap full on, because right now, when it is so much harder to do something for someone, that's exactly what I want to do for all my friends and for my family. The American writer George Saunders writes about how we get better at kindness as we grow older. How our MO of putting ourselves first, which is at the front of our brains, actually, for decades and decades, it starts to fade after life has kicked us around a bunch and we've watched other people come to our aid. We start to understand how kindness works. We come to realize that it's the people in our life who have been kindest to us who are the most important. And just as we start to realize we're not the only star in the universe, we start expanding our capacity for kindness and begin to spread it around. And if we do things right, as we age, we will see self diminishing, and that space will be filled with kindness. Now, for the last act of this episode, I find myself in Nova Scotia, witnessing my father's final act. He will be 95 this month. He now lives with my sister, who moved him in during COVID to get him out of a senior's home. And as he fades away, we take turns caring for him. It feels like there are 100 things to do for him every day, but every gesture, helping him navigate his arms into a sweater, cooking the next meal, delivering it on a TV tray in his room, guiding him from chair to bed to washroom. All these things are done without negotiating with myself, which used to get in the way of kindness. Now it's all done without a single thought. And while it's certainly exhausting, it feels so good to be able to finally give of myself fully and completely to my Father. Kindness is finally unbridled. And when I return to my house after a week with my dad, depleted, I see my friends have filled my porch with firewood from my barn. And there's a stack of egg cartons from the local bakery to start the fire in my wood stove. And there's a dinner plate covered in foil waiting for me. I am floating in the middle of a river of kindness, coming and going. I see now how this works. I surrender.